Hi everybody, good morning dan selamat pagi. My name is, you can call me Uncle Eddie, and I will be your host for this walk, say around an hour or so. But before I start anything, don't forget, tag along another 3 friends of yours and join for this walk. And the most important thing is, right, please get ready. A jug of kopi o or teh tarik right in front of you. Okay, now I'll be your host for this walk. That is what I call it more of the Millionaires Baba's Street, and this show is actually being made into a show. Is none other than a very body in Melaka. I call them the Tourism Melaka. Now, before I go any further into the street, let me highlight to you about the history of this place. Now, before that, just for your information, Melaka was declared the historic city of Malaysia on 15 April 1989. The second part is, on 7 July 2008, Melaka was given the status as UNESCO World Heritage Site. So our walk today will be more towards one of the main core area of the UNESCO World Heritage Site. Right? They play a very important part, you can say, in the social economy for the state of Melaka during the Sultanate era and until during the British Strait Settlement era. So are you all ready? So for a start, come follow me and I will take you and I will show you. Have a good look. This is the street that we are going to walk through. Now, for this street itself, now during the Dutch era, they are the ones responsible for building all this. And during the early days, for we Melakans, we call this street in Bahasa Malaysia, that is Kampung Belanda. And until today, we still have 4 names of this street. That is, number 1, during the Dutch era, we call this street the Heren Street. So Heren is a Dutch word, but it means noblemen and high-ranking officers of the Dutch who stays here. Right? So talking about the UNESCO World Heritage Site, now you can see all the buildings in town, in this street, are made during the Dutch era. Then while walking along this road, I will highlight to you 4 different houses, 5 different houses that you can find along this way. Now, for the start, talking about the Millionaires Baba's. Now, we Melakans, we can never miss this house. This house, right, is where none other than the man responsible for introducing the rubber industry in Malaya, and he is none other than right? The most important man in the history of Malacca, or in Malaya, towards the rubber industry. He is none other than Mr. Tan Chai Yen. He was born in this house, number 4, Hiran Street, Malacca. Right? And it happens that he met Sir H.M. Riley while he was studying in England. So when H.M. Riley was transferred as a director of the Botanical Garden in Singapore, right? Since Mr. H.M. Riley was interested in rubber industry, and he remembers one Baba who stays in Malacca. So he came down and they worked together. The first plot of land planted with rubber in Malaya is a more of a 40 acres of land, and it's none other than at Bukit Lintang, Melaka. So this is the first millionaire I want to highlight to you. And they also played an important part, right, in the development of Singapore. So give you an example, probably all of you are quite familiar with this name, Tan Tong Seng Hospital in Singapore. For your information, Tan Tong Seng stays here. So during the British era, after Singapore was founded, that time the governor of Malacca is none other than Sir William Farquhar. So when William Farquhar was transferred to Singapore, he took all the millionaires of the Babas, all the millionaires of the Babas, staying in along Hiran Street up to Singapore. Okay, come, let's walk. Now, on my right are even numbers in the odd numbers. Now, the first house I want to highlight to you, the 4 different houses of along Hiran Street. This house number 8. This is the first house, the different type of design. You look at the architecture design of it. This, I call it more of the shop houses of the Dutch. Everything is original with the hanging roof, and the beauty part of it is, for the Dutch architecture, a shop houses, that means ground floor where they do their business, and upstairs is more they stay. And this type of shop houses during the Dutch era is very similar with a mini market nowadays. But during the Dutch era and during the early days, this is a mini market. Okay, folks, come, let's walk.
Hello.
How are you?
Morning. 你会讲华语吗？
Okay, okay.
Malay.
Malay.
Malay kan.
Ah.
1, 2. Nyonya Chang. Nyonya.
Okay, I catch up with Auntie later, Auntie. So this is, folks, as a Malaccans, until today, quite a number of the houses, we still have the Babas and Nyonyas staying around here. Okay? Okay. Right, okay, come, folks. So it's beautiful today. Now this is what happens, and now we are still under the SOP condition and under COVID. The whole place is very quiet. And for your information, folks, I am following the SOP. Now I'm talking with all of you. I'm still wearing a mask. But just to inform all of you, don't get offended. At a certain stage, I will take out the mask because I can't really stand the breath I have to take, and I'm doing talking. Okay, another house, folks. Not forgetting, That I mentioned earlier, we have around 5 houses, different type of houses along Hiran Street. Now, we also have, beside residential areas, we also have clan houses like this, the Chua clan. Right? But this all was built during the early days. Right? Okay, come, I just show you. This is a clan house. Right, the Baba clan, the Chua clan house. So usually, this is we have all this along Hiran Street. So probably for if you are not a Malacan, so when you walk along Hiran Street, right, we don't really know the structures and the houses along the street, in the street. So tag along with me, folks. So be patient, relax, and I will slowly, highlight all the important things that you can find in Malacca when. Make sure when the COVID is over, please visit Malacca. Okay, folks, come, let's take a walk. Continue with our walk. So you find that most of the houses are all closed. So normally, this time of day is all very quiet. Now, if you look at the houses here, this type of house, right? To identify a Dutch architecture, right? That is, the houses are all very small in front. The width of the house is small. Now, this is another thing that I like to highlight to all of us. Now, the Dutch government never occupied Malacca. It is actually the Dutch East India Company. After they introduced the Hiran Street, where all the noblemen and high-ranking officers stays in the street, right? They built a very systematic township for Malacca. And the most important thing is that if you all this while, if you are walking Malacca, you see the Dutch houses are small in front. The reason small in front, but very long towards the back, because the Dutch came out with a tax system. That is, they will tax the house owners on the width of the house. On the length of the house, there's nothing. They don't do that. Okay, come, let me show you. Sorry folks, suddenly the road is very busy. Okay. Alright. So folks, this is what I mean. This is a typical Dutch architecture, Dutch house. Small in front, but very long towards the back. Right? Now, this side, roughly you can see. Now, once we are under the UNESCO World Heritage Site, now to restore the houses is quite difficult, because we have to follow the original materials used during the Dutch era. Example, folks, I'm giving you an example. Now, you can see this. These are all the original Dutch bricks that was brought down from Holland during the early days. Now, like I mentioned earlier, it was the Dutch East India Company. Right? They came up with this plan, And the beauty part of it is that it's not, they just brought in the bricks from Amsterdam for no reason. There is a purpose. Because you just imagine huge galleons traveling from Amsterdam, from Holland down to Melaka. They have to go through the ocean and the winds and so on. Now, if the galleons are empty, for sure, the galleon will wobble and can't be controlled. Now, to stabilize the galleon, what the Dutch East India Company traders did was, they brought in a lot of bricks and put it at the base of the galleon, so to stabilize the galleon. So once arrived in Melaka, they will take this out, and there's another law saying that if anybody who wants to build houses, they have to buy the bricks from the Dutch East India Company. So now you see that the whole picture of it. So that's why I said, Huron Strait is very, very important for we Melakans. Now, come to this side. Come, folks. All right, okay. All right, come. All right, come. Okay. You see, folks, now with the coming of rubber in the early in 1898 by Tan Chayen, and later part of it, most of the millionaires, babas, made the money from rubber. So you can see Hai Guan Rubber Company. So another thing that during the Dutch era, what they did was, right, even though it's systematic, but it's a ruling. Now the pavement that I'm walking about, this is new. Right? The original is until here. So during the Dutch era, all the residents or the owners have to build a drainage in front of the house. Now, during the Dutch era, most of the Dutch people works together with the Chinese traders. Right? And during the early days, these Chinese traders, we can refer to as Peranakan Baba. So Peranakan means born here. Right? Since they are very rich during the era, they bought quite a number of houses before the British occupied Malaya. So they bought most of the properties along this area. So after buying over, that is where the next name of the street. Now what we are trying to showing all of you is the Millionaires Baba's Row. So they bought over everything. So during the British era, the whole street, for we Melakans, we call it the Millionaires Baba's Row. So you can see an example, a rubber company. Right, okay. Can see. Example. The whole structure is still Dutch. Only when the Chinese bought over, they just upgrade with a few things. And usually, right, during the early days, the Dutch houses, the houses is just right in front of the street, and sad to say that this one is being taken off. But for the original Dutch house, it's usually covered this side and covered here. This all been renovated. I will show you the real Dutch house, later part of it. So overall, you can say that we have the five different type of houses along Hidden Street. Is number one. We have this. Come, careful, folks. Okay, one of the houses I like to highlight to you. Now, this is my second Millionaires Baba house. Overall, this house was built during the Dutch era, and one very rich millionaire Baba by the name of Chan Cheng Sui bought over this house in the year 1861. And during that era, right, to say that when Singapore was founded in 1819, and in the year 1826, when Melaka, Singapore, and Penang was turned into the British Strait Settlement, so this group of people was known as the Straits Chinese Babas, since they are very close with the British, right? English educated, the British work together with the British. So most of them are administrators, and the third and fourth generation usually goes up to England and study. So they came back, they have a very mixed culture, more like the Western culture, living luxuriously. They decorate the house so beautiful. So this house, you can refer to along the street as another type of house. For me, this I refer to as the Straits-born Chinese houses. Now, they look at the difference. This is more of a townhouse. Townhouse of the original Dutch structure. Okay? Now, to know that it is a Dutch house, so usually the architecture of a Dutch house, very huge windows and huge doors. So, for the Dutch house, they have the roof, and I call it more of the hanging roof. So there is an agreement and or understanding between the Dutch East India Company and during the British East India Company. So they came to an understanding that is a Dutch put forward. After they left Melaka in 1824, they told the Dutch East India Company, please, no more developments in this area. So when the Chinese, the Peranakan Chinese Babas bought over the houses, right? They can't really renovate the house. What they can do is only they take out the roof, hanging roof, and they made the extension, the hanging room, I call it. So this is a very typical, the Straits-born Chinese Baba's house. So Mr. Chan bought over two lots of the houses, and for 4 generations stays in this house, and usually as a residential house, and they turn it into also, because they are very they all come from China and they still have the Chinese influence, so they add in as the ancestral house. So these houses, 4 generation of the Chan stays, But in 1985, they turned this house, two houses, a double story, into the Baba Nyonya Heritage Museum. So this is one of the, if you come and visit Melaka, if you want to know more about the way of life of the Babas and Nyonyas, please visit this museum. All right, folks, come. So, as a millionaire, I mean Chinese Babas, like I mentioned earlier, they have the culture, they're all from China, so they come down to Melaka, right, to still maintain, to bring in, to attract prosperity, harmony, long life, right, and there is a saying also during the early days, this street towards Jomensi, the Chinese Babas believe this is along this street. There's a millipede, a centipede who stays in the center of the road that brings them prosperity and harmony. So they still maintain that. So as a Chinese Baba, you look at the houses, beautifully decorated. So just to give you the highlight how a millionaire stays. Right, to give you the rough idea, if I were to look at the phoenix, okay, now phoenix is actually an illusion bird, but there is a story behind it. That is, now during summertime, where the fruit trees bears a lot of fruits, and most of the birds will be taking and eating it halfway and throw it away. So there is one very special bird who goes around and collect all these half-eaten fruits back to her nest. Now when winter time comes, when the birds are out of food, this bird with open heart invited all the birds to her nest, right, to share the fruits. Now, as a gratitude of thank you, harmony, during her birthday, all the birds visited her and gave her a present. That is, by plucking one feather from each bird and gave her. So that's why we have the phoenix. In general, the story tells us it is actually two words: harmony and peace. Right? So since they have a lot of money, now just to give you a rough idea, it's just, can you see the two deer? So for them, okay, for them, a deer resembles long life, longevity. And for the elephant, the significance behind it is actually wisdom and very calm. So the Chinese Babas, millionaires, by putting all this, the beautiful decorated house, they hope prosperity, harmony, long life still flows into the house. Okay, right, let's go, folks. Okay, another house I want to highlight to all of you. Okay, this. The overall, like I mentioned again, this house, during the Dutch era, is what I call a townhouse. Shop houses, where they stay inside, and in front is where they do the business. Since they are all very rich, and they are very cooperative, right? They have the harmonious among themselves. So one Baba by the name of Mr. Ong, who went to England and studied, to be a doctor. Right? These are all in the early days. So he came back and he opens up a maternity ward. So when he retired, he gave it to his brother-in-law, Mr. Yo, and they turned it into a maternity ward where you can say most of the babas and nyonyas and the people surrounding this area, they are born in this house. And another beautiful part of architecture of a Dutch, and it's very similar with the Malay culture. I call this a flipping door. Right? There is a two-part. Right? If to get the ventilation, I'll open the top part. Now, if I have visitors whom I don't know, also, I only open the top part and the bottom part, I keep it closed. This is all the signs of architecture design you can see along this way. All right, come folks. Now you'll be wondering that most of the houses here are still quiet, right? And all the doors are closed. And then you can say that there is nobody staying. Now, there are factors behind it. Now, just to give you the rough idea, since Melaka was listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and now where you are standing, all the houses left and right, this is the main core area of conservation. Right, now during my early days, in the 60s, 70s, one house like this is only the most I give you is on 300K. Once it's given the status, I have to throw away the K, I have to put M, millions. But another factor is, for the Chinese, the Babas, even though they are rich, but they never forget their ancestors. They still believe that their ancestors are still with them. So that's why they turn this house into an ancestral house. They have a beautiful tablet. When you enter in front of the house, we have the tablet. Now coming to the 5th and 6th generation now, most of them, right, since are well educated, staying out of Melaka town. So for them to stay in this ancestral house is a big problem. Right? So what they do is, either they lease out these houses and turn it into hotels, restaurants, or souvenir shops, or the worst part is, they leave it idle. But, not forgetting, usually on the All Souls Day or 7th month of the Chinese lunar calendar, they will come down here and worship their ancestors. Okay? Alright, folks, come. Right. This is one of the most beautiful house. I can really show you. Right? Another house, another type of house along this street is none other than, during the Dutch era, we call it the townhouse. This is typical Dutch, because you see the walls are covered block. There's no 5-foot way. Right? Now, to be exact with you, the 5-foot way was actually introduced by the British. So it's a very perfect. From this side, right to the door, if you take 5 steps, it's exactly 5 steps. Now let me prove. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 5 steps. That's how we call it the 5-foot way. Alright. So this is all new. Okay, come folks. And not forgetting folks, Melaka is unique. Now if you visit my village, right now this granite stone, This is Dutch. But if you visit a village in Melaka, please go to the kitchen. Right? You are definitely going to see a granite grinding stone. It's similar. Alright, right? Okay, come. These are all the wealthy millionaires Baba's house. This house belongs to the Tan family. So sad to say, they just keep it this way, and as ancestral houses like I told you before. Right? And the next one. This is one of a very wealthy, the Seet family, S-E-E-T. Right? His full name is Seet Ki An. And one of the street in Melaka is named after him. So just to give you a rough idea, now typical Dutch, again, hanging roof, huge doors, and huge windows. So you can see the difference, huh? This one, the millionaire, with 2 windows. This one is multi-millionaire with 4 windows. Right? So the text will be on the width of the house. Alright, okay, come folks. Now, give you another one. Right, now this is a very old, okay, shop houses. But another type of house along the millionaires row is this. Look at the difference. Right? Now, just to give you the clue is, during the holidays, right, since all of them are very rich, and during the holidays, we don't have beautiful cars like today, Proton, Saga, Mercedes, and so on. What we have is none other than horse carts or bullock carts. So since they don't have a veranda to keep their horse carts, this is where they come. This is actually a garage for the horse carts. Okay, so, okay, come folks. So example, like I'm telling you, some of the houses are turned into hotels, right? And like this one, it's all been because the 6-7 generations are not keen. Now another house I like to highlight to you. Now probably all of you have visited Melaka for a few times. A few times, and usually, from what I saw, they just walk through. But let me introduce you this house. This house for me really highlights the multiracial society in Melaka. Now I'll give you the rough idea. Granite stone is a normal Dutch material. Okay? The house itself was built by the Dutch, but the beauty part of it is, look closely at the tiles. Yes. Can you see the cross? For me, the cross is none other than the Portuguese tiles. Okay? Now, look at the tiles at the side of the wall. This is typical British tiles, English tiles. Right? And the house, you can see the calligraphy, they right here. Now this belongs to her until today. They are still dealing with rubber industry. Right? Chinese. And the beauty part of it is the wood carving. That is a typical Malay culture. So when the Malay wood carvers, when they carve beautiful furniture, wood carving, they will always carve the motif of flowers and leaves. They don't carve, alright, human figures or animals. Now, since that is the latest one, let me introduce you the Japanese influence, the CCTV. Right? Now, during the early days, right? Actually, the early days CCTV copied my old days CCTV. Now, give you an example. If I come to this house, I knock on the door. Right? For the owner, you don't find they automatically open the door. No. They don't open. So usually what they would do is they will run inside. They have an upstairs, beautiful decorated. They will run up right to this front and they will open up their own CCTV. Can you see the small square? Can you see the small square? Yes. They open up the small hole. They will peep through. Now if they see, they recognize Eddie, then only they will put it back. They will run down and they open the door and welcome me. So during the early days, all the houses along here have it. But now due to the modern generation, when they restore the house, renovation, all these are gone. This is the only one left. A very unique house along the Millionaires Baba's Street. Okay, come folks. All right. Okay, folks. Sorry, folks. It's very tempting to talk with the mask on, but I have to do it because SOP. All right. Now, folks, this is something that is really missing. During my early days, the streets here, right? So usually on special occasions, right? Like wedding ceremony, Chinese New Year, right? Most of the millionaire Baba Chinese house, Baba's house, they will hang not this lantern. This is new. This is new. Right? But during the early days, they will hang beautiful handmade lanterns made from bamboo and paper and beautifully hand-drawn drawings of animals like birds and so on. Now, this is one of the side effects when we were listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So, normally they will hang that, but due to the status given to us, the beauty part is that I hang the lantern tonight, tomorrow morning I wake up, it's gone. They are actually more of what you can say the antique lovers collection. So due to that, what most of them will do now is keep this beautiful lantern inside the house. Only on special occasions they will put it down out. Other than that, they will fix these modern lanterns. And this lantern, folks, for your information, during the early days, we don't have street house number. We don't have. So for the Chinese, right, what they do is they hang this lantern. Is actually facing outwards. On the right is the surname of the company name of the family, and on the left is the trademark of the company's business. I just give you, because this is one of the one of the side effects when we were listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Now it's sad to say all these beautiful lanterns are gone. Now, coming to this shop, Egg Shoemaker. Now, actually they make two items, two products. That is the beaded shoe, right, and the bound feet shoe. Now, I will touch on this, the bound feet shoe. Right, Melaka can be proud. That is Egg. Now, they are the third generation until today. You can say, if I'm not wrong, the only shop in Malaysia is still making the bound feet shoe. Mr. Raymond, can you show me one, please? Right, I get the owner, Mr. Raymond. He will show you what I mean by bound feet shoe. Oh, we had your coffee. All right.
Yeah, thank you.
This. All right, Mr. Raymond, huh?
Yeah,
Right.
welcome. Okay.
This. But don't get me wrong, folks, huh? Nowadays we make this not for the ladies to wear. Now they are still maintaining and sustaining the culture of the bound shoe. They make this as a souvenir only. Alright, so this is the only shop. Alright, so if you come down, if you want to get a special discount, you tell Mr. Raymond, I'm Eddie's friend. He will get a discount. Alright, okay, thank you, Raymond.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, right. Now, there is a saying. Now, this bound feet shoe actually exists from China during the Ming Dynasty. Right, and then there is a saying that when the ladies wear this bound feet shoe, right, it is actually additional of the beauty of the ladies. Another story says that it helps the husband so that the wife can't walk fast or run away. But actually, it's not. All right. Now, for your information, the bound feet was totally banned throughout the world in the year 1911 because it is actually not a culture. It is actually, right, for a certain greed, right, for the Chinese men during the Ming Dynasty in China. Alright, so now it's totally banned. Right, so you need my very quiet. Now here, along this street, for me, it plays a very important part. Well, you can say everything, even though, right, it's a Millionaires Baba's rule, but they play a very significant meaning towards Malaya in general. Right now, come. I want to show you this. Right. Today is beautiful. It's very quiet. Because if usually quite busy, it's quite difficult for us to do our work. Okay, come folks. Right, folks. This house. Yeah. One of the millionaire Babas. And he is none other than, right, it belongs to the Tan family. Please take note. Give you the rough idea. Original Dutch. Big window, doors, big windows. And please remember the number of the house. 111. Now, to give you a little bit history of this house was bought by one millionaire Baba by the name of Tan Cheng Bo. Okay? He bought this house from a British man, in the year 1775. Right. As time goes by, in the year 1883, one Chinese man, all right, or you can say one Baba, was born in this house. And he's a well-known figure throughout Malaysia. And I call him Tun Tan Cheng Lok. Now, his son, again, a very well-known man throughout Malaysia. He was a former Minister of Trade and Commerce, and later as a finance minister. And he's none other than Tun Tan Siu Sin, house number 111. Why I say it's very important? Because Tun Tan Cheng Lok, right, in the year 1949, a group of men led by none other than our first late Prime Minister of Malaysia, or Malaya, that is Tunku Abdul Rahman, managed to come into this house. He came to this house, stayed here, had all the secret meetings. And the most beautiful part of that meeting is, number one, he managed to convince Tun Tan Cheng Lok to group all the Chinese of Malaya into one political party. And that party is none other than Malaysian Chinese Association. Was born in his house. Right? And talking about independence, again, Tunku Abdul Rahman, right, with Tan Cheng Lok, with his delegates, every now and then, right, up and down, came to this house. All the secret meetings towards independence was held in this house. So you just see how important we did. And the beauty part of it, after the first word of independence was shouted in Malaya, is none other than my home state, Melaka. On 20th February 1956, today I call it Dataran Pahlawan. So after independence, this whole street now, we name in honor of him. We name this street Jalan Tun Tan Cheng Lok. So folks, you see, we have 5 names of this street. And he's a millionaire until today. Now the daughter of Tun Tan Siu Sin is managing this. And they turn it into the ancestral house. Alright? Okay, come. I show you another millionaire house. Very rich man's house. These are all the Ong family. Right. This house, right, if you see like this only, now it's only a hotel. We call it a Puri Hotel. But this man, right, the second generation of the Tan family, okay, you can say it's responsible for the developments of Melaka and Singapore. Now, we have 2 bridges, one in Singapore, one in Melaka. And we call that bridge none other than Tan Kim Singh Bridge. This one, his grandchildren, Tan Jo Kim, they bought over. Now, coming to the 9th generation, Dr. Tan, they turned this into a boutique hotel. But they were staying originally the other side. So now, 3 houses, they turn into a Puri Hotel. So folks, the trick that I want to tell all of you is, now if you want to be a millionaire, come for a holiday in Melaka and please stay one of the hotels around this area. These are all the millionaires' Baba houses. So probably if you are lucky enough, at night while you are having a good rest, you sleep, he will come into your dream and give you the means and ways or tricks how to be a millionaire. Alright? So this is in future, when the COVID is over, you can come and stay. And facing the house. During the early days, from 1925 until 1962, this house was the tallest building in Melaka. This. Now, the story about this house now is actually the Chi clan's house. Now, I'll give you the story behind it. Is that the first Chi who came down to Melaka in the early days, 1800s, he's none other than, I call him Chi Su Yam. Right? Chi Su Yam. Right? He came down with his son, Chi Kim Guan. After making some money, actually they bought over 2 lots of houses. And then coming to the 3rd generation, Chi Yam Chuan, right, who's a little bit educated, works together with the British and expand his business. It's everything. And you can say that one of it is rubber industry, one of it is a steamship industry that sails to Melaka, to Singapore. All right? And during that time, he's a very rich man. Okay. Now, to give you the rough idea, in the year 1925, coming to the 4th generation, Chi Siu Ching, in honor of the father, Chi Yam Chuan, he broke down the houses, the 2 houses, moved backwards a little bit, because that time they can afford to buy cars. So to park the cars, that's why they make it a space. Now this house, again, in honor of Chi Yam Chuan. But Chi Yam Chuan plays a very important part, not in Melaka only, but also helps to develop the social economy of the state of Selangor. Okay, as the story goes, I think all of you heard about Mr. Yap Aloy, the founder of KL. Mr. Yap Aloy came down to this house in the year 1846, together with Sultan Jumaat from Selangor. He came down, introduced Sultan Jumaat, Raja Jumaat, to Chi Yam Chuan, and they link as a partnership. And they are the ones who opens up the tin mine of Lukut. Now, this is a very good example between the relationship of the people, between the Chinese, Malay, Indians. So to make things better, I think all of you heard about Raja Jumaat's son. I think in KL also you have certain roads named after him, Raja Bod. He stayed here. He stayed in this house to centralize, control everything. And later part of it, when he was successful, another Raja came down. And he's none other than the brother of Raja Jumaat. He is Raja Bod. Came down here again. Works together with right, Chi Yam Chuan, and they open up, right, the Klang Tin Mine. So this is a house. You should just see how rich they are. Right? So, come again to the fourth generation. Okay, there is Chi Siu Cheng. He saw how rich his grandfathers are. So he combined with all of the Babas here. Right, the Babas, they combined, and at the end of the day, right, he was the first chairman of OCBC Bank. This. Right? So just imagine a very rich, wealthy. That's why for us, we want to do this because we want to highlight the importance of Millionaires Baba's Road. So this is now, it's the ancestral house of the Chi. Whoever with the surname of Chi, usually on Chinese New Year, you can come down here and correct Ampao. Okay, come folks. Another last final one. So I will make this is the last, right? Because if I were to go further, there are a few more millionaires houses. I think it takes me until at night. So I think we will stop. This is the final one. Final house. Now, firstly, if you walk around Melaka town along this street, you will come across this, and automatically in your mind, you will say this is a temple. But in reality, it is not a temple. It is actually a clan house. Right? The Lee clan house. So probably the early generations, right? You have seen this building, but now it's all gone. Now the story about the Lee is, the first Lee, Sege, came down from China, right? And stays around this area. Now he came down from China with a certain specialty in him. That is, have some Chinese medical experience. So while in Melaka, he met a local Malay chieftain whose wife was attacked with a very rare disease. So it happens that Lee Sege managed to cure that sickness. So as a good rabbi, as a appreciation, the local Malay chieftain gave, right, Lee Sege a few pieces, hundreds of land. So, coming to his son, Lee Queen Lim, what he did was, he managed to go back to China, bring back a lot of Chinese workers, together with the locals, they open up small tapioca plantations. But everything changed coming to the grandson, Lee Kian Liat. He saw that his grandfather owns plenty of land. So what he did was, he started planting all the empty lands into tapioca, sogo, and the most important plant that he planted along in around all his plantation is none other than the rubber. Right? So at the end of the day, so I like to mention again, folks, now if you have the senior generations, if you have seen huge buildings during the early days, the Lee Rubber Company of Malaya, yes, this is the founder from this house. Right? So, Lim Lee Kian Liat never forgets his fellow friends, because majority of the millionaire Babas all comes from Engchun province in Fujian, China. So what he did was, right, they combined everything. And for the millionaires of these Babas, their richness never goes out from here, because the marriage is only among themselves. So they manage. So due to that elements all, Mr. Lee Kian Liat opens up Engchun. All the people, the Babas here, are all Engchun, who comes from Engchun. Right, folks? So give you the rough idea. And the final one, by the look of it, I can tell you that Mr. Lee is a nobleman. So usually, if you visit any temples or any houses, you see the figurings of dragons. Now I can tell you, where I see the dragon, right, and I look out for one thing, and that is the claws of the dragon. 1, 2, 3, 4. If I see the claws of the dragon, it's 4. It is actually the owner or the person is a nobleman. For a nobleman, it's only 4. You can never get or see any buildings or attire used by noblemen with 5 claws. 5 claws is only 4 emperor. So with it, folks, I think, right, that's the end of my story about the Millionaires Babas Row. So once again, on behalf of Tourism Melaka, with the crew, we say I hope that you have finished your kopi o or your teh tarik and you have a very relaxing morning. And I say thank you very much for watching this Millionaires Babas Row. And not forgetting, this afternoon at 2 o'clock, we still have another one, that is the River Cruise of Melaka. So folks, bye-bye. Have a nice day. Stay at home and be safe.
Aku mengharap dunia cepat sembuh. Hari-hari ku tadakan tangan doa, bebas kemana tanpa gemuruh. Ingin terbang, bersayapkan tenang bebas tanpa gangguan. Hidup ini pasti akan berhenti, kembali indah warna kita pelangi. Bersama ya, agar kembali yang pernah punah. Copengan ini cuma sebentar. We stand together.